Do you remember your dial-up modem and that awful noise? Well, you'll hear more about that this evening, but just remember, keep that thought in mind. Not a nice sound. Our dear Kathy MATARA, who organized this, she made most of the food, she organized all the volunteers. She is one powerhouse. She has been working on this tirelessly for 2 weeks, day and night, and sometimes far into the night. She has incredible energy and incredible dedication, and we're fortunate that she's fighting for the life of the oceans for all of us. Very important. She is an international standards convener and systems policy specialist. Distinguished international systems policy specialist and technical committee leader with over a decade of experience driving standards for environmentally sustainable biological and anthropogenic impact mitigation technologies. That means trying to clean up the mess that humans are trying to create, I think, in basic terms. And she's got a proven track record as international consensus builder, specialized in bridging the gap between advanced electronic engineering frameworks and biological safety parameters. Currently serving as the internationally ratified convener for ISO, a whole bunch of numbers, joint working group, and is leading global technical experts that she's convened in the codification of next-generation underwater communications architecture. And she has international standards leadership and experience. In systems innovation, she successfully conceptualized, negotiated, and established this historic joint working group to unify cross-disciplinary international expertise across underwater communications and underwater acoustics. And project milestones so far accelerated the standard development life cycle by 9 months ahead of schedule, successfully guiding the technical report, environmental and ecological risks and considerations of underwater acoustic signaling into the formal international comment review stage. And future standardization architecture secured international project approval to pioneer the upcoming international standard guidelines and requirements for bio-friendly underwater communication. And for neutral governance, she's managed complex stakeholder dynamics, technical reconciliations, and consensus building among global experts representing diverse national committees. And there's many more things. But I want to just say that Kathy has almost single-handedly blocked this sound network in the ocean several times already with a small committee of experts. And this International Standards, Technical Standards Committee sets up all these international standards and nobody knows who they are or what they're doing. And it's not necessarily well researched, as you will hear this evening. And they want to turn the ocean into the antithesis of a sound bath. They want to turn it into something that's a nightmare and could spell serious damage, if not extinction, for many of the mammals that live in the ocean. And she is the one leading the charge to stop this. So please welcome Kathy MATARA.
Wow, you guys are all wonderful. I am so happy to see everybody here. Thank you for caring about the ocean. Thank you for coming here to hear all about it. And I just appreciate you so much because like every effort, it takes a group, it takes a village. There's no way to pull off something like this completely alone. And just the fact that you're all here to support and hear about it, that really says a lot about who you are. So I'll start by thanking you. So we have some fun things to talk about tonight. I thought I would start with a couple of short videos that kind of set the stage and maybe clarify the basic situation that's going on. The first one is just 2 minutes, and it was sent to me by Simon Davies. Most of you know him in our community. And he put together just a short sort of introduction to this project, and I thought it was kind of cute, so I'll play that first.
Imagine a world where whales can no longer sing, where dolphins can't find their young, where fish flee in silence because of our noise. A powerful new smart ocean network is being rushed into approval, one that could flood our oceans with sonar all day, every day, at volumes that can shatter marine life's ability to survive. But one woman stood up. Kathy MATARA fought on the world stage, delaying the vote, building a team of scientists, and protecting the deep. Now she needs your help to finish the fight and write the safety standards before it's too late. Be the voice the ocean doesn't have. Join the Quiet Ocean Standards Initiative and help protect the whales, dolphins, and marine life.
This is what it sounds like if we lose. The entire ocean will sound like this unless we convince them to replace it with a bio-friendly alternative. Wouldn't you love to hear this while you're swimming in the ocean? And think of how the marine life would feel. This is 24/7. It's pretty scary. I know that's about all I could take. And imagine not being able to escape. The problem with marine life is they don't have the option of catching a break, coming onto land for a while. They would just be listening to that all the time. And if it didn't physically kill them, it could drive them crazy. And so this is what we're trying to do something about. And don't you agree it's a good idea if we fix that? Yeah. So before I start this little slideshow that we created, I just wanted to say a couple of the things that a lot of times people say to me when I bring this up to them. The first is that there's no way they're going to pull this off. They're not going to do it, right? And, you know, these committees that have developed this underwater network are the same committees that developed AI. They're the same committees that developed smart meters and brain-to-computer interface, smart cities, vaccine tracking, on and on and on. So I think they've kind of got a proven track record of actually succeeding at rolling out these giant technologies that are worldwide. The smart meters are on roughly 90% of the houses worldwide. and they all started on these same committees. So, unfortunately, I think they can pull this off, and I think unless we do something about it, they will pull this off. So, another thing, hold on. The other thing I hear often is that I'm not going to be able to pull this off. Like, this is too much of a David and Goliath type of situation. And, how can one or two or a small group of people change a world rollout? How can we have an influence? And what I say to that is, as unlikely as it seems, we've already pretty much won this, believe it or not, because we're already, in the conversation with every single country in the world. And I just want to encourage you that if you do feel to support our work on any level, that it is succeeding, it has already succeeded, and we're going to be 100% effective. I'm actually confident in that, and I know that's a big statement. I was very involved in the smart meter court case that we had here in Iowa, and people told me all the time, I was one of the lead interveners, and Kathy MATARA versus Alliant Energy, who believes that, right? What a joke. And an $11 billion company, but we won, and I just, yeah. So I believe in us, I really do. We can accomplish anything we put our minds to. And I think this community, the consciousness here, has a lot of responsibility, actually. And that's why I really wanted tonight to happen, because you guys are thinking in a broader way than many people are. A lot of people are they think of their job and maybe their home and their family, and that's the awareness. But here we're all about raising awareness and having an influence and impact. So, yes. The last thing I wanted to say before we start is that being in this position happened to me by accident. I didn't seek this. I probably would have been terrified if I had known what doing this would be like. But I also think that we all sort of fall into the place where we can have our own effect. And in this case, one of my expert witnesses on the smart meter campaign, Dr. Tim Sheckley, he's been on these international committees that I now work on for 45 years. And he called me up and said, guess what they're going to do to your ocean? And that was after we won the smart meter court case. And I thought, oh, what now? And he said that he thought that I had the moxie to stand up to the organizations, and so he could arrange to get me on to the International Electrotechnical Commission, which is actually difficult to do, but it happened by itself. And I think, destiny does kind of play a hand in all these things. And so with that, let's take a look at this little slideshow here. So the Quiet Ocean Standards Initiative is a 501c3 nonprofit that we started to sort of fund and manage this whole effort. And we've been working for 6 years now on this. Actually, just this month is the 6th year. We started, I think it was August 15th, 6 years ago. So we developed an organization to kind of hold the whole vision and the whole progress together, as well as the funding. I took this picture. This is Kauai, and I named him Horatio. I feel very personal towards these marine creatures. I swim with them, I swim with the dolphins, and their consciousness is huge. You can really feel it. And he came right up to our boat and leaped into the air and allowed me to catch this picture. And so I wanted to introduce you to him. I would hate to have him listen to that sound all the time. It's just so unfair. This is a little bit about the International Electrotechnical Commission. It was founded in 1906 to coordinate all worldwide technologies. It began with electricity, and now is overseeing wireless and all kinds of related technologies, such as smart meters. And, you know, we've got technology in the sky, and we've got technology all over the land, and the ocean has become the final frontier. So, and I started by joining Working Group 7, and they are the architects on the International Electrotechnical Commission of the sonar network. We started out with strategic attempts to insert safety language in their documents. And the way the committees work is they have quite a few members from, it's supposed to be every country. It isn't always every country. But they work together to develop these new technologies, and of course it involves a document, a control document, or a committee draft, and that defines the network itself, the network specifications, all of the technical information. So I tried initially to get safety language into their documents. So that's kind of where I started with the whole thing is I thought that I could get in there and get them to see that, you know, we just have to be sure that this is going to be safe, and that they would eventually figure out that it was not going to be safe. And there was a lot of resistance to that. We had a lot of opposition, and some very entertaining sabotage stories where we were supposed to make presentations, and they kept pushing us to the last position, and then they would say they were out of time. So we were the only ones that didn't get to present. I mean, just on and on. That was just one of so many that we have had to encounter and deal with. So, but in the safety language, I collaborated with Earth Justice on Oahu, which is an environmental law firm. So even nature gets a lawyer, right? And they drafted fantastic safety language. But it kept getting thrown out, bottom line. Long story, but bottom line. And so that's when we switched gears, because I realized that working on the inside was never going to cut it. So we needed a new platform and a new strategy. And that's where the idea came up. And I actually went to the top level of the international committees and proposed that how can we create an underwater network with no experts on marine biology or bioacoustics. And they bought it at length. So I proposed a joint working group that combined network experts and marine biology and bioacoustics experts, and that's what I'm working with now. So against all odds, we got all the members of the IEC to, well, we got a majority vote to have this new group. And for them, this is, not usual. You don't usually have experts or even anyone advocating for the environment. It's just not done. And by the way, the International Electrotechnical Commission does have top technology representatives from every single country. And it's, the body is roughly 2,000 people. And they control your life, even if you don't know about them, because they're making decisions for the world, and they do tend to keep it on the down low. They don't like, publicity until it's basically pretty much too late. So just like with the smart meters, we never heard about them until the smart meters were on these committees for 10 years, by the way, before they were finalized and disseminated and funded, distributed to manufacturers and then to the utility companies. And most of us didn't hear about smart meters until we got a card in the mail saying we were getting a new meter. So that would be the typical situation with the ocean as well. We'd find out about this when it was already rolled out or being rolled out. And so this is a real game changer that we're in a position to have an influence before it's too late. It's the first time ever. It's pretty amazing. And if you like, you can take a closer look at this later, but this is kind of a picture of what the network will look like. But just to get a mental picture for you, it's they want to pepper the whole ocean floor with modems, and they call them sensor stations, and they are they kind of look like an iceberg, and they're kind of like the size of a small dining room table, kind of like these round tables, but the table is more like what it's like at the bottom, and then it goes up into a cone. And these, the way they have it now, these modems chatter with each other via that lovely sound that you heard, but those sounds are encoded with data. So it can run full internet, gaming, the whole enchilada, everything. And it also has a monitoring capacity, so it's able to take a look at where the fish are and forward the information to the fisheries to save them some time, finding the fish. And it can actually locate coagulations of plastics. Unfortunately, is going to be equipped with some chemical that will melt plastic into the water. And there I was, raising my hand. Is that a good idea? The fish drink that. We swim in it. So trying to get them to think it through. And so these modems then send their data to a buoy. And it's quite a few modems, and it'll vary how many based on terrain. But the information goes to a buoy, and then the sound is received at the underwater portion of the buoy, and then it is sent to the to above the water where it's converted to Wi-Fi. and the signal information, all of the data, is then sent to cell towers on land and satellites in space. So that's the kind of visual of what it would look like if they succeed in rolling this out, which we're not going to let happen. But just moving forward. Yes, sure. Yeah, that's another question I get all the time. And I agree, actually. If it were up to me, I would throw the whole thing out. I think we have plenty of internet, and maybe even too much, arguably. Okay, so there's a lot of angles of the answer of that question. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. She's just asking why we need a network underwater when we already have cell towers on land and satellites in space. So I do not think we need it, but the international techies love this thing. They want technology in every terrain, and they really are so excited about this. If I didn't have a problem with what the network will do, I would think it's adorable. Because they just they geek out on this, how great it'll be for the ocean to talk to the sky, which talks to the land, which talks to the ocean. It's to them, we're finally industrializing every terrain. So, yeah, for some people, that's a good idea. Does that cover it, pretty much? Oh, their logic? She's saying their logic is weak. I agree. Yeah, I very much agree with that. And there's more to it. This technology was developed at Kookmin University in South Korea, and it was funded by the underwater robotics organization manufacturers, and with the intention that they would get an exclusive on the network development and manufacturing, which would put Korea in a completely different situation financially in the world. And so that's a piece of it. There's also a military aspect, and we're not really allowed to know a lot about that, except for that we're told that this network will scan for submarine attacks and will somehow keep us safer. That's what we're told from the military side. But there's also room for we maybe don't know all of the reasons that are behind it. Yeah, because the technology groups that I work in, they don't talk about things like that. They just talk about developing it and how to do that and how exciting it is. One of our great accomplishments is we've developed a technical report, and this is written by experts in bioacoustics, marine biology, and it's supposed to involve the network experts as well, although because they mostly oppose our work, they have sort of fallen back a little bit on their participation. But we did complete our first draft of our technical report. It's our first really major milestone. And that technical report is on the desk of every country now. And yeah. And the title of it is Environmental Risks and Considerations of Underwater Acoustic Signaling. And the purpose of it is just to raise awareness of what could be the downside of this network, and in a very scientific fashion. So, and there is a lot of research to back this, and I'll talk more about that more in a minute. Yes, and so the current stage where it's at is we've gotten this onto the desk of everyone. They have made the comments back to us. 45 pages of comments came back to us before our conference that we just got back from in Paris. And in Paris, we were able to integrate the 45 pages of comments. Actually, we're sort of rewriting the technical report right now to integrate all of the useful feedback that we got. There were some that we needed to not include. But so we are going to Japan in November for another conference. And by then, we will have integrated what's called CD1. It's the first committee draft that's circulated. And then it will go out again for the second committee draft circulation, CD2, which will go to every single country. And then after that, once we've integrated any last comments that come in, it will go out to what's called CDV, which is a vote, the committee draft vote. And we're going to be lobbying very hard, but once the committee draft vote gets a majority of vote from all the countries, and believe me, if you don't think this is much work, think again. I mean, we have to convince, kind of one by one. I will go to all of the heads of delegation of every country and the people that they work with and lobby for why this should be voted in. And once, excuse me, once it's voted in, it will be published. And it will become a guidepost. And so that will be the first stage in having a huge influence on what can be approved in the future. So it's very difficult, even for marine sonar, Navy sonar, to get away with decibels that our technical report proves are not safe. And I have two researchers that work with me that are amazing. They literally compiled every single bit of research that's ever been done on the effects of noise on marine creatures. And they extracted everything that was useful for this technical report and is referenced therein. So it's, we're making a very powerful case. It's going to be very hard for people to ignore once we've gotten this all the way through. Okay, we actually had a different graphic. But it didn't turn out, so we threw in a picture of me with, I actually went over to the Big Island and I was talking to the researchers there, and so they had me get into the pool and commune with the dolphins there, so, and picture snapped, and there's another one that follows this. So, bio-friendly communication, right? Doesn't that look like good biology communication? Anyway, it was fun for me, what can I say? So in Berlin, which was the previous conference that we were at, by the way, we have to go to 2 conferences every year, and as convener or leader of my group, which is this Joint Working Group 32, I don't have the option of not going. And a little quick story, I'm just completing my first 3-year term as convener. And so they always reach out to the whole world, basically. Anytime a convener has reached the end of their term, everybody is invited to compete with me to be convener for the next term. And the United States voted me in to be convener for next term, and so did my own group. But mysteriously, all of a sudden, there was someone who was unnamed that was competing with me. And it turned out that it was the project editor, one of the project editors of the Sonar network, who was trying to take control of my group. So we made a lot of arguments worldwide, and it looks like, well, actually, August 28th will be the final vote. But after we submitted lobbying to every country about how it doesn't make sense to switch conveners mid-projects, and also that we would have to train the new person because he wasn't familiar with what we were doing. And he actually, another little stroke of luck, he dropped out. Yeah, it was amazing because it was looking a little dicey there for a bit. But yeah, we've had such amazing luck with this. It's really been uncanny and fun. Okay, let's see if I've covered this. Okay, so in Berlin, we got permission for a second project, which is going to run tandem to the first project, because we're almost done with the technical report project, and we almost have it voted in. So we realized what we really needed to do in order to stop this sonar network is we needed to have a bio-friendly alternative that, you know, instead of lobbying against them voting in the sonar network, we could say, why don't you vote for this instead, because it accomplishes everything that you want, and in many ways it's better. And so that's just a better position for lobbying. So after many obstacles and a lot of work, we actually got final permission to our group to write our own international standard. And international standards, it's like different than a technical report. A technical report is advisory. An international standard has teeth. You know, they really have to follow those, or you know, there's going to be consequences. So we got permission to write our own standard entitled Guidelines and Requirements for Bio-Friendly Underwater Communications. And so we'll be, you know, actually defining a bio-friendly network. And you know, I mean, I don't have to dwell on this too much. It's been definitely a hard-fought journey. We succeeded at stopping the vote-in of the sonar network 8 times over the last 6 years. And actually last year in Wuxi, China, we actually got it voted out. I wish I could say that was the end of the story, but it was a really good step. So we actually defeated the existing sonar project, and it was voted off the table. Now, unfortunately, they have now started it up again, and you know, this is the sort of thing that we deal with, and this is why we have to get our international standard in place in order to overturn permanently this sonar idea. And I don't think I need to cover too much. I mean, there were all kinds of false, they tried every trick in the book to stop us, particularly in Berlin. That was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. Every trick in the book. I mean, even one of the people involved in the sonar network, when I walked out of the plenary meeting, he was chasing me down the hall, yelling at me that my project was ruining everything, and I had to hide in the women's bathroom. I mean, it was no joke. Yeah, and overturning my meetings. They were joining my meetings, and then basically causing so much dissension that it was very hard for us to get our work done. But we overcame all of that, and we actually got to the point I had to write a report to the United States of America, the American National Standards Institute, and report their behavior. And I did it. And what happened was they pulled, because this is a committee comment, basically, and is enforceable by the committee itself. But they tried to turn it into a legal battle. So they hired their counsel, and they tried to depose me without me being represented. But I just absolutely held my ground and refused to participate in it. And finally, the United States ANSI, their legal department went after it. And they sent a letter to SC41, which is the head of all things wireless, out of Korea. They went directly to the chair, and the legal department defended me and our group, and basically really shut them down so they couldn't harass us, at least overtly, in Paris. Of course, they are still doing things. They were trying to get our group moved to a different platform, and because that would get us out of their way. But they also failed at that. That was their big play in Paris. But in an amazing feat of luck, the chair of SC41 just killed it. He just said, I'm not going to entertain any of this. Just let them finish their project. And so he kind of wiped out the complaint and got them off our back. And so now we're free and clear, wide open to do our work. And we already touched on this, how the ocean's 71% of the Earth's surface. Michael Bailey, one of the founders of Greenpeace, who has been helping me actually on Kauai, he happens to live on Oahu, we've been giving lectures at Rotary clubs together and just kind of raising awareness. And he said something that I do like to quote. He said that this work that we're doing is the single most important environmental effort on Earth today because it has the biggest reach. It not only affects the whole ocean, but it has a reach to deep sea mining. It will have an effect there. And the naval sonar, and the way it is right now is the Navy has the right to kill 5,000 whales per year and call it zero. I don't know, how do these things get approved? But anyway, that's their rule. And so our work is going to have a huge reach in a lot of areas where moral compass has been stepped aside from. And it's a funny thing because here we developed technology to serve us, right? But it has kind of crossed a line now where it's starting to harm us. And so in my heart, that's what I've realized my real mission is with all of this, is to reestablish moral compass with technology. It should serve and not harm. Another friend. Okay. So, call to action. And I want to invite a couple of other people to say a few words as well, but you know, so far we've run on sometimes nothing more than fumes, gasoline fumes, and we've had good haphazard donations throughout the 6 years that we've been standing, and we need to take it to a new level now. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk with you all about, is that in order for scientists to develop a fully bio-friendly network, they actually want to be paid. What a surprise. And they are going to need consistent payment. So this is what we're up against now, is for the first time, you know, I'm not succeeding at basically convincing people to donate their time. And I am going to have to pay scientific salaries. I'm going to have to pay for all those team members to travel internationally twice a year, and technical infrastructure work, examples like Janice kind of shows that if we move too slowly, we could get, you know, we don't want this to get away from us, let's put it that way. And I just want to play you just a couple of minutes of a sort of already existing beginning of this idea of communicating with sound underwater as a network. Before I play this, if anyone wants to contact me, you are welcome to. I will talk to anyone who wants to chat. And our website is called safesmartocean.org, and you can make donations there if you'd like to. And look, I got a kiss from Helia, and that was also on the Big Island. It was really cute because the researchers said that, they said, this woman's trying to help you, go give her a kiss. And they actually snapped a picture. It was really sweet.
Submarines and aquatic robots will now be able to speak the same underwater language. Researchers at NATO have developed the first ever international standard for underwater communication. It's called JANUS. Robots are used for underwater research, mining, and military operations. JANUS could allow all of these different types of aquatic vessels to communicate. There are international standards for airwaves, which is how we can connect over the internet and exchange data. But up until now, there wasn't a common protocol for robots or vessels to address each other underwater. Instead, groups of robots used customized acoustic signals on many different frequencies to connect. This meant that some robots could talk amongst themselves, but not with other systems. Now all underwater robots and vessels can use JANUS to talk to each other. With JANUS, two systems make contact at a particular frequency, 11.5 kilohertz. Once they are connected, they can either continue to communicate with JANUS, or they can switch to a new frequency for privacy or convenience. To test JANUS out at sea, researchers set up a system of underwater tripods that emit acoustic signals. The tripods can send signals to each other and then send a performance report to researchers on shore. Along with the tripods on the seafloor, researchers also tested JANUS from the water's surface, using buoys to convert radio or Wi-Fi signals in the air to JANUS signals underwater. The goal is for JANUS to create one big network where underwater robots can communicate with each other and with submarines, buoys, and ships. In a sense, Janice is the first step toward creating an underwater internet.
Step one, this is just a tiny little piece of what it could be like. And they do want to have robots being a part of this network, which we've been recommending cable to replace the sonar. And one of their big arguments is that it's hard to leash robots. But it's not that hard, actually. And the nice thing about cable is it holds hundreds of thousands of users. One tone of noise holds about 10 users. And that is going to encourage more and more sound. So, the thing is they also tried to say that buoys you can't cable. It's interesting, they really don't understand the ocean, because buoys are always cabled. That's how they stay still. So, yeah. So we'll just continue raising awareness, and there were a couple of people that wanted to make a couple comments, but that's my presentation for you tonight. Thank you so much, and love you guys. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, yeah? Did you want to make a comment? Okay. I will take questions. I think let's go ahead and let a couple people say some things. This is Roger Leahy. You probably know him, Overland.
Kathy, I'm so impressed with your presentation, and I've read a lot of the materials you've sent me, and the whole scope of what you're doing is just, it's just amazing. I can't imagine any person that's actually pulled this all together and accomplished what you've done in this time. It's just amazing. It's just wonderful, and I'm a real fan of swimming with the whales and dolphins too, and it's such an important part. Yeah. I said I'm a fan of swimming with the whales and dolphins too, and it's so important. And I was trying to think, normally I just involved in my own business and maybe occasionally contribute to some, things in the movement or something like that. But I've never really been inspired to continually contribute to some project that really is life altering and for the planet. And so I was talking with Kathy a while back, and I started making a monthly contribution to this effort. And they have so many needs. Like they're talking about hiring 2 or 3 scientists to be writing this whole structured program, and they have need for an administrator and for like a development fundraiser, grant writer, and there's several. And Kathy, basically has been funding this, I don't know, out of her piggy bank, for a long time. And so just to be able to support her in this whole international advocacy that she's accomplishing going around all these countries. So I just am very inspired by this and impressed with it, and I just encourage anybody that could making any contributions, but particularly anything that could be sustaining, because it's going to take a year or two to get all of the details and to make this, to bring this to fruition. And like Kathy said, she really is the David and Goliath. She took on Alliant Energy, and won. I think she can take on, this committee. She's already, the committee chairman of the most important committee of this whole, the process that's happening. And I just think, I I can't say anything more, about how amazing that she's just really the pivotal person that is making this all come together, and she's respected by all these people internationally, except the ones that don't want to do what she says. But I think we've got a winning team here, and all it's going to take is a little bit of consistent funding to actually. What she wants to do, she's recruiting right now to hire these people, and a lot of them she already knows, but she just needs to be able to offer them, a salary for a while. So that's kind of what's at stake here, and I just wanted to say, encourage you all to consider this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. We love you. Thank you. Yes. Oh, Jennifer. This is my good friend Jennifer Diamond, and who has recently moved back to Fairfield. And I just have to say one thing about Jennifer is she initiated the whole smart meter effort, and she recruited me. And she's a force to be reckoned with. So here's Jennifer.
Well, thank you, Kathy, for saying I'm a force to be reckoned with, and I think I am to a large extent, but I'm pretty sure that I could not have done what you're doing. That's how incredible and astonishing it is, what you're doing. I have been in contact with Kathy since pretty much the beginning of this ocean project. I assisted with some funds in the beginning, and also kind of as a personal sounding board. And I kind of enjoyed hearing about the technical aspects. And I actually have read the technical reports, not all of it, hundreds of pages. And I've actually over the internet listened to a number of the committee presentations at these international conferences. So I just have a few things I want to let you know about or talk about. The first is that right now, those of you here are in a very select group, because not only is it not known to the general public what's happening as far as the proposals for acoustics in the ocean and the pushback that Kathy and her group are providing, but they're actually the International Technical, Electrical, whatever committee, they discourage and have an expectation that this information, this valuable information that you're hearing tonight, that you should not be hearing it, that you should not know about it. It's expected that it will be only privately discussed among the representatives of the countries to the International Technical Electrical Commission. Let's see what else. So just a couple insights from having sort of been a sounding board with Kathy for Kathy off and on. The people she's dealing with are basically engineers. And that's how they, with their engineering expertise, got onto these commissions. They don't have any biological background. Not only that, they don't even think about the biological consequences of what they're doing. So Kathy and what she's doing with her committee members it's an uphill battle, because it's in part, it's a battle of trying to raise consciousness to these people that all of the technical things that they propose do have biological consequences. What Kathy, it's incredible who and what she has been fighting against. She's really fighting against industries around the world. And they're, you know, honestly, this is the battlefield of the Bhagavad Gita, Kurukshetra. And it is the forces of good versus the forces of darkness. It's so clear what is going on. And these some of these people are really cruel. I remember one story Kathy told me. There was a research assistant from Scotland working with one of the main ocean researchers, and she was at a conference a few years ago, and she got hounded by some of the people in the commission to the point where they made her cry. And then what Kathy is doing personally, her life is so challenging doing this project. It's very stressful. And I know she's talking to people all around the world, so the hours, you know, she can be talking late at night on very technical issues to people that English is their second language, who are basically, as I said, engineers. I mean, I think it's unbelievable what she's been doing and what she has accomplished. Yeah. Many of and it's not everybody in the International Electrical Technical Commission, it's just a few important individuals that have been opposed to this consideration of considering the biological consequences. But these people are researchers at universities, and their funds come from industry. And they are funded to the tune of, I have been surmising, they're funded to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And that is what Kathy is up against, and she's been doing this on a complete shoestring. I'll get into funding in a minute. The collaborators that Kathy has gathered around her are just incredible people, just some of the real gems of the universe that love the ocean, love the mammals, and love life, and just fascinating, brilliant people that Kathy has gathered to collaborate and write the technical report. Kathy has also gained a lot of trust and respect in the International Technical Commission. I can tell because when she tells me about some of the battles, she also tells me about some of the people within the commission that are standing up for her. Some people very, very high levels internationally that have come to her aid. So she has gathered some great allies around her also. So let me talk about funding for a minute. For about 3 years, I think I'm kind of clever and creative. And so for about 3 years, I actually tried to find funding for Kathy. I mean, I figured, you know, there must be some organizations out there that want to support these efforts. And I did a lot of research on ocean-based projects, on grant organizations and foundations. And here is what I found, that I could not find a single ocean conservation project that would support what Kathy is doing, because they all have their pet project, their tiny little pet project. Like, we need to save the coral on this beach. oh, the only thing that we do is we help beached whales. Like, you know, I was astonished that there was no larger thinking, even among ocean conservation organizations. And I even looked at things like National Resources Defense Council or whatever, you know, like, and, well, first of all, they kind of forget about the ocean in many respects. But again, it's just pet projects. And then I looked at foundations and, you know, grant organizations. And first of all, you have to be a pretty well-developed organization yourself to even have the wherewithal and the administration behind you to even apply to these foundations for grants. And then it takes years, and you have to run through so many hoops. So, and Kathy kept telling me, you know, for years while I kept researching these organizations and sending it to Kathy, hey, what about this, what about that? And none of them came to fulfillment. And she kept saying, you know, the only way this is going to work is through individuals that understand how important this is. And I think, actually, I finally agree with her. The only way that Kathy is going to be able to continue to do the work that she has done is through consistent monthly funding from the people here this evening. This is the largest group that, in my understanding, that Kathy has ever talked to about funding. And obviously, you know, it makes sense, of course, that it comes from a group that is consciousness-based. Let's see, I'll wrap it up, sorry. Yeah, and you know, the most valuable thing would be consistent amount of dollars per month, at least for the next couple of years, so the technical report gets finally voted in by the commissions for all the countries. And also, the other part of that was that I thought, besides the technical report, the other part you talked about was, well, oh yeah, the standard that getting past an international standard for safety. This commission has never had an international standard for safety. I mean, it's incredible. And you can also get creative on how you want to help Kathy. I actually started using you know, I've been very quiet about this. This is the first group of people, or even individuals actually, except for maybe one or two, that I've even ever talked about my support for this. So I've been using my airline miles and my credit card miles to sponsor Kathy and a few researchers for some of these international conferences. So you can get creative also on how you want to help Kathy out. But anyway, please do. It's just so important and so incredible what Kathy has done, and nobody else could do it. Thanks.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Whew. Okay, we'll take a few questions before we totally close. Okay, go ahead. Yes, okay, John? I will do that, and I'll leave it up on the screen so you can copy it down. And you had a question? Yeah. You want to just...
I'm just curious, with Jennifer was talking about the bio-impact. So are the research, I mean, she kind of sneered at the coral thing, but honestly, you know, the dead coral is creating dead zones in the ocean, and my question is, has there been research on whether these sonar and other projects are going to cause the same thing? And then the wider implications of that, like we're all going to be dead if that happens. You know what I mean? Yes, exactly. Does anybody think about that?
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. So we had a workshop, and actually, if all of you signed so that I have your email, I'll be able to update you on this and give you a link, because our workshop that we had in Paris, we had one of our experts directly addressed what you're saying in great detail. And it is now up on what is called the IEC Academy. I finally found one platform on the International Electrotechnical Commission where you can put things and make them available for public. And we're not allowed to put any of the things that go on in the private meetings, but the workshop was they consider that okay for public. And so there is one speaker that talks a lot about all the different marine life that are affected by sound. And coral is very much affected by sound. And yeah, I don't think Jennifer was making a point that coral doesn't matter. I think she was just saying that a lot of the organizations have a very narrow point of focus. I think that was her only point. No, she would be someone that greatly values coral. The thing is the coral communicates within itself through an orchestra, through sound. And it is very likely that loud sound would mask the intercommunication of coral. So that's a very important thing. I mean, another example is 50% of our oxygen is generated by ocean algae. And the algae membranes are very fragile, and loud sound can rupture them. So there's the possibility of decreasing our oxygen source, and on and on and on. The small fish have swim bladders that burst with loud enough sound vibration, and they die of internal bleeding. When I first heard that, I was raising my hand on all these international meetings, most of which are in the middle of the night in Hawaii. But I was raising my hand on Zoom saying, this is so dangerous. This will kill off fish. And they actually, one of the representatives got on and said, but we kill fish all the time, right? And I mean, what do you say to that sort of thinking? I said, but not everything. I mean, you know, tiny amounts of fish in a balance where they can replace themselves. It's a completely different thing. But anyway, it's all about raising awareness. Did that cover pretty much? Okay. Exactly. And that is a fact. If we really destroy the ocean, we will destroy humanity. There's no doubt about it. So, and then they'll have no one to sell internet to. Good point. Yeah.
And thank you for everything that you're doing. It's really amazing. So assume that you get your standards in place. I love thinking that you will. Is there going to then need to be monitors to make sure that they're actually complying with the standards?
Yeah, thank you. Compliance is a whole nother level. And there will certainly be people trying to break compliance. However, what happens usually is that the standards are taken up by local law agencies. Let's see, I think we already lost Jeff Shipley. I was going to have him say something about that. Anyway, so the lawmakers get a hold of these, and then it becomes local law. It's a tricky situation because the open ocean is not regulated. What is regulated is a certain, and it varies, the amount of water around a landmass. And actually, Kennedy reached out to me through his assistant, Sue Paradise, and asked for a policy recommendation for the United States. And we wrote one, and it's cable only, zero sound, no sound at all. So we'll see how that moves forward. But it's like, this is like the domino effect. You know, just keeping attention on it and keeping the work moving forward, more and more people hear about it. We actually, we got an audience with Kennedy because I have a friend in California that was donating to his campaign and was on a boat with Kennedy and actually got in front of him and explained the whole thing of what's happening with this network. And Kennedy was very against a sonar network and said that he would be watching for opportunities to help us advance. So, I mean, everything, yeah, helps. Okay, I think that we should wrap. This has gone longer. I had no idea it would go this long because we were also going to do some dancing tonight. It's so funny. I wanted this to be brief, but mostly for us to have fun and eat and dance. And we have amazing dance instructors here, Paul and Benjamin, who are going to teach bachata and swing. And so please stay for this. And I'm going to have my good friend Steve Rabinowitz close this discussion. But I also just want to thank everyone that helped. I mean, the Angel Brigade here is phenomenal. You know, a simple way to do it. Everyone that helped me today set this up, could you please stand up? I want to applaud you, please. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. Thank you. You are all so wonderful. I could not have done this without you. And Steve, who took everybody's information at the front, and Geraldine, his wife, who's out there now. Still doing it. Man, what an angel.
So nobody around here likes to ask for money, and that's why I was volunteered to do this. And I spent a lot of time thinking about making a gentle presentation that would still penetrate. But fortunately or not, the speakers before me were so awesome, and every thought that I had has already been expressed much better than I could have done it. So the only thing left for me to say is Kathy has penetrated this international organization with miracles, really. You know, every month, whether she's can pay her bills and that sort of thing. But when you're dealing on this level of international regulations, one misstep is all you need. So it's not like you can just take a bow and say, look what I did. You have to fight it to the end. And that means every month, every minute, you have to keep going, because one false step and you're out. She's fighting against, you know, organizations that have so much money. And there's a lot of money at stake here. If they win and they get to do this sonar, that's big money for them. And so the moral issues that people are talking about, not only are they just engineers and don't care about certain things, there's money involved and they want it. And to fight that, Kathy needs money for her organization, which the people before me have so eloquently presented. So up to now, you know, she's, when she tells a story, every little thing is, you know, well, I was so lucky this happened, and I was so lucky that happened. And that supportive nature has brought us to here, but we can't really rely on it going forward. We have to do what we can do. And even if you're in a modest situation, a lot of modest contributions have carried her this far, so you shouldn't feel left out. And if you're lucky enough to be able to make a more substantial contribution, we already have one for $5,000 a month. That's the first one. But we need, that person wants to be anonymous, so I can't say who he or she is, but we can all think kindly thoughts about that person in the abstract. And anything we can do would be great. And really, to do this right, we need about $25,000 a month. So there are these cards here, which where can people pick them up?
Yeah, we just have these monthly donation commitment cards, and just unbeknownst to us out in Vedic City, we're printing these up, and we ran out of ink right before this event. So one of those lovely coincidences. But we do have, I think we have 8 cards here if you would like to commit to a donation that's monthly. Did you have anything else?
No, that's about it. So this is not for everybody, but any substantial contribution, I'd say, let's get it done right now. And otherwise, you can always contact Kathy and get more of these forms and make these pledges.
Anytime.
I don't know what I'm going to say, except that I've seen Kathy is invincible over and over again. We've seen that on, in some very major issues in the state of Iowa with RF frequencies and things like that. But when I look around this crowd, it's really like trying to take something out of nowhere, because I know many of these people are themselves in a very challenging situation financially already. And it's not like you're talking to anybody here, but somebody came up, there's maybe somebody. But I mean, even there's this thing called crowdfunding where really you just get $10 from, but many, 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 many people. And so then you still end up having quite a lot of money. And I mean, that's how the whole grassroots funding of the political campaigns is going. You know, very small donations. So we should maybe all of us just even commit $10 a month or $20, whatever we can do. But it's the creating the momentum and creating that sense that there's more abundance somewhere. And also we should just talk to people and get the word out and get people to Kathy's website. And really, it's just so obvious that it should be fiber. I mean, we're dealing with that right here in Fairfield now. We had a perfectly good fiber optic network, and then a new company took over, and they're starting all these little satellite 5G things all around town. We're getting blasted by 5G when we had very good fiber optic for our Wi-Fi. So, you know, it's just the time, and what we really need to do is raise consciousness. And that's what this group is mostly about, I would say. So as many people in a group, doing group program, those kind of things, and counting on the bigger momentum of consciousness raising, because we've heard that if the consciousness really rises to a certain big shift, then even Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he said, the environmental problems will just sort of change overnight because people will wake up. They'll say, what? How could we even consider making all this noise in the ocean? It's just absurd. It's idiotic. But, you know, it's just common sense. But there isn't a lot of common sense right now. So let's do our best to raise our own consciousness, raise the community consciousness, raise the world consciousness, and try little small donations of crowdfunding. And
Thank you, Suzal. Yes, it made perfect sense. Thank you. Gosh, the crowdfunding is tricky on one level, and that is when I joined international committees, I actually do not have permission to do that type of an outreach. Because their confidentiality is something that I'm allowed to fundraise, believe it or not. That is really the only context in which I am technically allowed to talk about this. Now, I don't control other people, though. Other people could fundraise, but that is something that I would have to be personally careful about, because having my seat on the committees is really important. It's more important that I get to stay where I can have an influence. But I like the idea of crowdfunding. I don't know that it's as easy as it sounds. I mean, that takes a huge, but I am open. So let's talk. Thank you again for being here. The dolphins and whales, thank you.